What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to passive-aggressive ways people got revenge. That's an interesting thing to go about. I don't know. It depends on what the person did for you to actually go out for revenge. So, really, it's quite a complicated thing to go about. But at least it's not revenge, like hardcore revenge. At least it's passive in a way. So, anyway, with this said, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button for this to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. And if you have any videos you would like to recommend, leave it down in the comment section below. Other than that, be sure to check out the original video to give the creator of this video I'm reacting to some love and support for the video they made. But yeah, other than that, let's just start this video.
Revenge. People say it's a dish best served cold, but it's a lot funnier when it's served as passive-aggressively as possible. From handing the school bully a popsicle made of poop to embarrassingly exposing a scheming scammer, it's time to dive into some more awesomely passive-aggressive ways people got revenge. Madhouse mischief. Getting cheated on is enough to drive you crazy. But what if you were cheated on, dumped, and then told to pack your things and leave, all while your partner was away on a work trip? Well, that's exactly what happened to one man called Duke. So he decided to drive her crazy, quite literally. After recovering from the brutal news, Duke bought a load of tiny noisemakers. They're incredibly annoying devices that make quiet, barely audible sounds at random intervals. You know, totally non-creepy things like children's laughter and odd scratching noises.
Oh.
And before he left the house, Duke sneakily hid these little noisemakers everywhere he could. A few months passed, and he was out with a friend one night when they asked if he knew any good pranks to play on people. Duke started to tell them about the noisemakers when they suddenly burst out laughing. Naturally, Duke asked why. It turns out his ex and her new partner had only lasted a few months. Apparently, they'd both been complaining to everyone about weird, inexplicable noises they'd been hearing around their house. What's more, they often didn't hear the same things as each other. Neither had any clue what was going on, and after trying to figure it out for ages, the new partner had finally reached the only conclusion he could: that they were both going insane. Unable to stand it, he bailed from both the house and the relationship. And Duke's ex moved out shortly afterwards. When his friend had finished telling him everything, Duke was left grinning. The only truly crazy thing about the whole situation was how well his plan had worked. Don't middle with me. Occasionally, you'll meet people who are jerks for no reason other than, well, they're jerks.
Oh, don't get me started on those people. Freaking a-holes, I swear. I had to deal with them in elementary. After that, everyone became a bit more mellow. I think. Yeah. I think that's the proper way to say it. I don't know. I think it's just everyone was growing up after elementary. Kind of sad to see how it downgraded a bit. Because I went to my old middle school and everyone was so... What's the proper word? That isn't insulting. Immature, in a way? Mm,
Reddit user Troubled Neighbor met just such a group
it's
of
the
bros
best I
while
could think
dining
of.
at his favorite restaurant, back at the start of 2022. They seemed fine at first, sitting in the booth behind him and causing no trouble. After they left, one of them forgot their glasses. The waitress quickly asked if he could go after them and return them. Happy to help, he got up and followed them out. They were in their car, so he tried to flag their attention. But as he did so, the two women in the front seat burst out laughing at him. Then they immediately hit the gas and shouted some kind of slur while flipping him the finger out the window. Well, Troubled Neighbor suddenly didn't feel so kind. Still clutching the pair of glasses, he opened up one of the trash cans outside and threw them in, before heading back into the restaurant. A few minutes later, and lo and behold,
Yeah, you gotta hate those people. You're trying to do something nice, but they just tell you to buzz off. In the nicest way to the most harshest way.
the group of
Freaking
bros returned in
jerks.
search of the missing spectacles. The waitress pointed at Troubled Neighbor and they came over asking where he'd put them. His response? Oh, I put them in the trash outside after you gave me the middle finger. The girls left without apologizing, but then a further few minutes later they came back again asking which trash can he'd thrown them in. Troubled Neighbor shrugged and gave them the finger and went back to eating his food, which was probably made all the more delicious thanks to that sweet side odor of revenge. You know what tastes even better than revenge, though? Being the first to know about all my latest videos. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, or I'll have to exact some kind of revenge. Just joking. Or am I? Right, what's next? Naughty neighbors. If you've ever been kept awake at night by loud, antisocial neighbors, you'll know just how annoying it can be. But some people don't just sit and take it. Oh no, they strike back. Like this couple who decided to exact revenge on the noisy people upstairs in a rather novel way. I wonder how they like those loud stomping footsteps at 4 a.m. And then we've got Canadian comedian Matt O'Brien, who'd been suffering from the same problem. That is, until he realized he could connect to his annoying neighbor's Bluetooth speaker and play them a little something he made himself.
Your music sucks.
Your music sucks. Please turn it down. The lesson? Don't annoy the comedian downstairs that can both produce music and hack your speakers. Nobody's taken
Damn.
it further than YouTuber Matthew BR, though, who invented his own special device to automatically take revenge if his neighbors are too loud. With a microphone attached to the wall, a nifty piece of circuitry, and two giant speakers, our man created an insane technological contraption. Anytime the neighbors are loud enough to hit red on the circuit for 10 solid seconds, the speakers blast annoying music back through the wall at them, and it works surprisingly well.
Our neighbors are playing their loud music again, as you can probably hear. So I've got the system all set up here.
Genius. Now, admittedly, the original video features Matt blasting Who Let the Dogs Out to his neighbors, but I can't play that tune
Copyright. Makes sense. But
without
it's
the
still very
Bahamas
clever.
taking all my ad revenue. But you get the idea, right? Either way, with all that loud music blasting both ways, I can't help but wonder if there's a third neighbor hiding outside the apartment holding a baseball bat. Cursin Courier. One day in April 2022, questionably named Reddit user SaltyWet247 was returning home from the supermarket with a heavy bag of groceries. When he got to his apartment block, a delivery man was stood outside with a parcel trolley. Salty let him in first while he checked his mailbox, but the delivery man got straight into the elevator and started running it up before Salty had a chance to get in with him. Considering Salty's apartment was on the 7th floor and he had all his groceries to carry, this was pretty annoying. But then things got a lot worse. The elevator stopped on the 4th floor and stayed there far longer than it should have. Then it went up to the 5th floor and stayed there for ages as well. Salty realized that the courier must have been leaving his trolley in the way of the elevator doors while he delivered the parcels, thus barring anyone else from getting in. What's more, the elevator kept going up after the 5th floor and kept stopping. Now Salty was incensed. Who did this guy think he was? So he decided to get petty. After waiting until the elevator got all the way to the 16th floor, Salty suddenly started dashing up the stairs, hitting every single elevator button on the way until he got to his apartment on the 7th floor. Then he waited in the stairwell. The elevator descended past his floor, and by the time it got to the 5th floor, Salty could hear the courier loudly cursing from inside as he was forced to stop for the 3rd time in a row. And it was only going to get worse. Yep, the only thing getting successfully elevated now was his blood pressure. Get rocked.
Now I'm good.
Over in California,
Does that mean he went up and kept pressing button after button, or? Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. That's right. Closest first.
they're known for having some pretty wild parties. But not everyone who lives there is so keen to get down. Geologist Melissa Scruggs doesn't usually mind it, but when a group of students next door stayed up all night partying, and for some reason moved a giant rock in front of her car, she saw red.
What
Little did they
the
know
frick?
that don't mess with Melissa Scruggs. At 7:30 a.m. on the dot, she went outside with her auto chipper, which is essentially a big noisy automatic drill. The students hadn't long been asleep, and they were gonna be nursing some pretty terrible hangovers. So Melissa put on her headphones, turned on the drill, and got to work smashing the boulder to pieces in the loudest, most aggravating way possible. And it wasn't a quick job either. She sent harsh, searing noise into her neighbor's house for an entire 4 hours. That's one rough wake-up call. Finally, her work was done, and she relented. Melissa didn't just get her revenge, she absolutely smashed it. Pooped out.
That was
Nobody likes a school bully.
that was a mid pun at best. Wow. Okay. Get that done.
So when one gets what's coming to them, there's nothing more satisfying. Well, Brazilian Be Amazed viewer Luke Eckel used to be terrorized by just such a bully. And oh boy did he give them what was coming. The bully would routinely go around demanding food from the other students, threatening to beat them up if they didn't hand it over. Luke Eckel had been the victim of this food thievery many times. But one day after yet another lost lunch, he decided it was the last straw. So after returning home from school, he did as all angry people would do. That's right, he took a great big dump in the toilet, put some gloves on, fished it out, then slid it straight onto a popsicle stick. Okay, maybe not as all angry people would do.
Yo.
He shaped the turd so it could pass as an ice pop, then melted some chocolate in a bowl and gave it a good dipping to cover up the smell. I think you might have already guessed where this is going. Our hero then left the sticky brown mess in the freezer overnight to harden. The next day came and Luke Eckel packed a poopsicle into his lunchbox. And sure enough, when lunchtime came, the bully swagged his way over to Luke Eckel with a nasty gleam in his eyes. Without hesitation, Luke Eckel handed him the frozen butt truffle. The bully cackled, took a big bite out of it, and immediately spewed everywhere. Luke Eckel burst out laughing and the bully ran off crying. Safe to say, Luke Eckel was expelled, but you can bet that bully didn't steal anyone's food ever again. So you may not be able to polish a turd, but you definitely can cover one in chocolate. Keyed colleague.
Okay, I'm gonna admit that is beyond. Oh, that is beyond anything sane. Heck, that's not even passive revenge. That's like Fallout going out of the way to make sure you're literally going to die of revenge. Or be so sick that you're not going to come back up to 100% revenge. My gosh. They're insane.
If you find a lost key with a phone number attached to it, you call the number to return it to its rightful owner, right? So
Yeah.
Emily McArdle from Liverpool, UK found this one. She did just that. But she was surprised to find out that the person on the other end was not happy to hear her voice. It turns out the key was part of an elaborate prank designed to get revenge on its apparent owner. You see, it didn't belong to Jeff at all. It was actually a fake key with his number written on it to entice people like Emily into unknowingly nuisance calling him. And whoever planted it had also planted a ton more, all marked with different names but the same number. Apparently, Jeff, or whatever his real name is, had an old work colleague he didn't get along with, so they'd gone about scattering the keys everywhere they could. What's more, it turns out that the revenge prank has been happening all across the globe as part of a viral TikTok trend.
That's fucked up.
I don't know what anyone did to deserve that, but it must have been pretty damn bad. I'd recommend trying to work things out face to face instead. I mean, communication is key after all.
That was awful.
Roommate retaliation. When you're living in the same house as someone, you're gonna have disagreements. It's pretty much unavoidable. Some housemates respond
Obviously.
to these spats more passive-aggressively than others, though. One guy lived with someone that had a habit of putting the toilet paper on the wrong way round. So one day he told them to put it on the right way. But when he went to the restroom later on, he found this. Was that a bit of an overreaction from the roomie? Quite possibly, but I guess you just have to roll with it. Meanwhile, somebody else got revenge on their food-stealing roomie by letting them know they'd left them a slice of pizza. Only it was a slice with a slice taken out, if you get what I mean. Not gonna lie, I'd still have eaten it. But of all the roommate disagreements, couples are likely to have the worst. One such couple had a tiff in 2013, so one of them decided to apologize by making the other a very special boxed lunch.
I don't trust it.
Ham, cheese, and plastic sandwich. Ah, yeah, it wasn't an apology at all. Just another passive-aggressive screw you. I know some people call American cheese plastic cheese, but they don't usually mean it literally. Shaming the scammer. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scammers in the world. I know I've fallen for a few, but sometimes they get exactly what's coming to them. Like when one tried to scam Reddit user Drunken Black Sheep out of $1,500 of her hard-earned cash. Sheep was in her mid-20s at the time and, in her own words, has a soft, girly appearance and an eternal baby face. Because of this, despite her being quite knowledgeable about cars, mechanics would always assume she was clueless. Well, one day she was at a garage getting her oil changed when one of the mechanics gave her car a free inspection. Afterwards, he solemnly told her that her vehicle was in such bad shape that it could break down at any second. To illustrate the point, he showed her the car's air filter, which was filled with dead grass, dirt, and dead insects. But she knew her car was fine, and she'd literally just replaced the air filter the day before. So this goon had put all that crap in himself to try and freak her out. Suddenly, a devious plan formed in Sheep's mind. Rather than immediately calling him out, she played along, pretending she knew nothing about cars and acting as upset as she could muster. Then she rang her dad, who's a mechanic, and got him to play along too. Everybody at the garage was watching now as Sheep cried down the phone about how much money she was going to lose. The mechanic could barely contain his smug delight, but then out of nowhere, Sheep's expression changed and she started laughing. The mechanic's smug face quickly turned to shock. Then she put her dad on loudspeaker. He was laughing too. Taking the air filter in her hand, she told everyone how she'd only replaced it the previous day, so the mechanic must be a lying scam artist. She continued laughing, thrust the filter back at him, and told him to clean it out so she could leave. Now everybody, including all the other customers, were laughing. Everybody other than the mechanic, that is, whose face had gone completely red. Without another word, he took the filter and did as he was told. And after reinstalling her clean filter, she rode off into the sunset. Now that's what I call karma.
Fair. That was fair. That was fair play. Freaking mechanic jerk.
Taking out the trash. If you've ever worked in a kitchen, you'll know everyone's got to pull their weight, or the whole operation will go up in flames.
I know that feeling.
Well, Reddit user Elena247 works in a kitchen with one coworker who apparently didn't know that. Or more likely was just lazy. The coworker would routinely come in late, hungover, or not at all. And when she did come in, she'd bring in her own dirty dishes with her and dump them on the side to be washed by someone else. As well as that, she'd leave half-filled mugs of coffee lying around until they curdled. Then when she was reprimanded about it, she dumped them by the dishwasher too. After weeks of cleaning up the lazy co-worker's mess, Elena finally reached the end of her tether. One day she came into work and was greeted with a big pile of gross, stinking dishes by the sink. Well, Elena knew exactly whose they were. So, without a second thought, she gathered them all up and threw them straight into the trash can with a satisfying smash. It's safe to say the lazy coworker stopped bringing her dirty dishes in after that. And hey, as well as being forced to clean her own dishes, maybe she cleaned up her act while she was at it.
I highly doubt that, but
Bedroom
whatever.
banter. Everyone loves a trip to the beach, right? Even if you don't like sand, what's not to love about sun and sea? However,
True.
I definitely don't want any of that in my house. So I can't
Oh,
imagine how
yeah,
the
that
owner of this
sucks.
bedroom reacted after he got back from vacation and found his roommates had transformed it into this. The guy in question had been on vacation and
Oh.
gloated about it for months, much to his roomie's annoyance. So they decided he could stay on vacation forever. I can't lie, it might be petty as hell, but the sheer amount of work that went into this is undeniably impressive. And come on, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely tidier than it was before. Having said that, there's no way all that sand is going to be efficiently tidied from that room. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys were still finding the stuff all over the house in the years that followed. Was it worth it? I don't know. Regardless, it was an
Eh.
outstanding effort.
But that room
Keep it
was
up.
awful. You know you got a problem if your room looks like that. Jeez.
Although the COVID-19 pandemic made wearing face masks the norm, back in 2013 it was odd to see anybody wearing one unless you lived in Asia, where they've been used publicly for years. Reddit user Nishiwa didn't live in Asia, and sadly she'd recently been diagnosed with multiple cancers. The chemotherapy had left her
Oh.
weak and mostly confined to hospital. But on the
Oh.
rare occasion she was allowed out, she had to wear a mask to protect herself. Well, on one of these rare days, Nishiwa was out at her local mall and had sat down on a bench to relax. Suddenly, a young teenage boy came over to her and started making fun of her for no reason whatsoever. Though making fun is putting it lightly. He told her she had the plague, that she was putting everyone else at risk, and even went as far as to say she should go and die. Oh boy, seems like a nice kid then.
Prick.
And since Nishiwa stood up, which only encouraged the little brat to get closer and square up to her. But just as he was within inches of her, Nishiwa lowered her mask, coughed twice in his face, and followed it with a small oops. The effect was immediate. The boy went as pale as a ghost, his mouth hung agape, and after a few seconds, he ran away. Nishiwa sat back down and relished in the moment. Despite the mask, there was no masking the sweet feeling of revenge. Car park chaos.
What the heck's
If you
that?
have a car and you ever wrong someone, watch out. Because it seems there's no more popular way of getting back at somebody than messing with their precious automobile. You can help yourself by not parking like an idiot, though. In other words, like this
Ugh.
guy who made the mistake of parking over 2 spaces at once. In case you couldn't tell,
Oh,
that's
I
a parking
hate those
dumpster
people.
that someone's.
That's so dumb. You have a free space. Why would you need to take both? Ugh. I hate
Plastic
those
wrapped to the
people.
vehicle. And whoever
They
owned this car
literally
made the
take
same
both
mistake,
spots.
though their punishment was arguably worse. Yeah, someone managed to literally flip this little smart car over onto its side, so it only took up 1 space. More effective than flipping the bird, I suppose. But
Huh.
car-related vengeance isn't just reserved for rogue parkers. When one man had the bright idea of cheating on his girlfriend, she paid him back in a rather novel fashion. That is, by investing in an absolute gold mine's worth of sanitary towels and completely covering his car with them. That's one
Oh,
almighty effort.
damn.
Period. Where there's a will, as sad as it can be,
No.
cheat is a natural and inevitable part
No.
of
No
life.
one did
But if
that.
you've worked hard, by the end of your
No one did
life, you might
that.
have a
That
good
would be
amount of cash
fucked
to
up.
leave to whoever you want. Reddit user GamerNerd93's grandpa had prepared early for the eventuality and written his will way back in 1998. The house he owned with his wife was to be sold along with all their possessions, and the money split 3 ways between GamerNerd's father, aunt, and cousin. It makes sense, as all 3 were raised by the couple from birth. The problem was, ever since the will had been written, GamerNerd's father had demanded that the lion's share of the money go straight to him. Why? Well, he didn't have a reason other than greedily claiming it was rightfully his. Anyway, jump to March 2022, and the greedy Papa had made the 10-hour journey to Grandpa's house just to start up the age-old argument again. By this point, everyone was sick of it, so old Gramps decided to take action. Gamer Nerd got a phone call while his dad was still away. It was Gramps, informing him that the will was now being split 7 ways, to include Gamer Nerd and his sisters as well. Meaning far from getting the lion's share, his dad is now getting a whole lot less than before. Zing! It just goes to show, where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay, that's good.
Aggressive revenge.
That's good. Honestly, I honestly thought someone messed with someone's will. Like some third party messed with a family member's will. That would be freaked up.
Trashing the Trasher. Alright, settle in, because if you think you've heard some wild tales so far, nothing compares to this one. Reddit user Donut Clouds lives in a quiet neighborhood in Pennsylvania, USA. Or at least it was quiet until his super trashy neighbor moved in. By super trashy, I'm talking blaring terrible music at all hours, smoking while 9 months pregnant, and being a general nuisance. Worst of all, she started throwing her trash bags over into Donut Cloud's yard, which is bad enough on its own. But the neighborhood's garbage policy requires all trash be put into a special purple bag or it won't be collected. Well, Donut Cloud's neighbor, we'll call her Susie, didn't want to pay the small amount extra for the purple bags. So the bags she yeeted into Donut Cloud's yard weren't even being picked up. When Donut Clouds confronted her about it, she just laughed. And the cops didn't care either. So it went on for months, with Donut Clouds having no option but to buy twice the number of purple bags to wrap up Susie's trash as well as his own. But it couldn't go on forever. It was a relatively cheap neighborhood, and Donut Clouds knew that although he owned his home, Susie only rented hers. A devilishly devious plan began to form. Donut Clouds got the number for Susie's landlord, rang him, and offered to buy the house next door for a cut above its market value. The landlord jumped at the offer. So the very next thing Donut Clouds did was walk up to the fence Susie so loved throwing her trash over and handed her a big fat eviction notice. Oh, Susie didn't like that. But no matter how much she protested, she couldn't argue with the law. 31 days later, and Susie was gone, while Donut Clouds had just netted himself a whole new patch of land. Damn, he really took out the trash, in more ways than one.
True.
Alright then, that's just about all the petty vengeance I can handle for one day. Which was your favorite? And do you have any stories of your own to share? They could make it into the next video, so drop your comments down below, and thanks for watching.
That was interesting. Let's see. Honestly, I feel like this was the funniest one. It's the least damaging, and honestly, I've dealt with people that did the whole elevator thing multiple times in my life. It was annoying. I thought I could wait it out. I couldn't. And I was forced to do multiple round trips by using the stairs. So yeah, I think I feel more of a kinship with that one. I might be biased when it comes to it, but you can't deny that while biased, it's still something many of us would agree on.
You're gonna have disagreement.
So, with that said, honestly, there's some fricked up things that happen, like people actually scamming others that add to someone's workload, someone that's actually just going out of their way just to be greedy and or make someone else pay for what they need to do. My gosh, what the frick is up with these people? They're like this. They're like the scummiest people of the earth for that kind of shit. What's wrong with this world? Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this reaction video. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when a video comes out. Other than that, I'll see you all next time. Bye!